I had a dream. It's an occurring dream. And it's a nightmare where the waves are full of chemicals. The waves are yellow and we can't go surfing. I wasn't very aware of environmental issues until I became a surfer. And I started surfing in places where water is polluted.
Right now we're on Kings Beach. Kings Beach is shared by the city of Lynn and the town of Swampscott. Lynn, it's a city that's been overburdened by pollution historically and still currently.
Kings Beach is the most polluted beach in the state.
It's an environmental justice community. You see people surfing here quite a bit. We live near Nahant Beach, which has a surf shop. They're running surf camps there. All these people who are coming from Boston to surf here, I don't think they know how polluted the water is and that they're literally swimming in raw sewage.
We are standing in front of the Lynn and Swampscott Stacy Brook MS4 outfalls, which are permitted to discharge stormwater only.
The Stacy's Brook sewage outfall is spilling poop water into the beach here, even during dry weather.
So 4 communities send their wastewater to Lynn Sewer and Water Commission. The system was meant to treat X amount of millions of gallons per day. And one of the infrastructure issues originally was that they had combined sewer systems, and they combined the storm sewer with the sanitary sewer. The underground system that was built well over 100 years ago was really just made to keep houses from flooding and keep sewage from backing up.
So they are old clay pipes. They are leaching out sewage water into the groundwater, which finds its way to the storm drains and then out to the ocean. Every single day, these outfalls are contaminated with sewage.
So when you have a lot of rain, you can overwhelm the ability of that treatment plant to do its job. And so what happens, they have to say, well, literally, so you don't flood back into people's homes, they have to release that. And one of those release points is down here at Kings Beach. Over on the other 2 outfalls on the other side of Lynn on Broad Sound and then near Rumney Marsh, there's an outfall that is regularly releasing millions of gallons of mixed rainwater and sewage together in those outfalls. And, we have to make a choice. Is that acceptable? Now, whether or not that's okay here, we have more visibility here because it's at the beach, as opposed to it being in an outfall that goes out to the ocean. But on an ordinary day when there's no rain, we have the issue of leaks within the sanitary sewer system getting into the stormwater sewer system. And it's hard to determine over hundreds and hundreds of miles of pipe where all those points are. So the EPA stepped in years and years ago and multiple different points between Lynn and Swampscott and said, you can't do this anymore. You have to show us what you're going to do to improve the infrastructure. Both towns have put money into doing this. It's just, we need to be putting more into it. It's just not enough, and it's not moving fast enough. And that's one of the things I think from an activism standpoint that we're all agreeing on. The question now is, you have a limited amount of funds. Where do you get the most impact?
The outfall pipe where most of the pollution's coming out is just like a mile in the background here. So this end of the bay sees a little less pollution, but not much less. Kiteboarding affords you a good way to see the water. You see stuff that you don't even see in boats because you're right next to the water. You can literally just see these cloudy bits of water that are just runoff, and it's nasty and it smells. They test the water, and the beach closures here are almost as often as the beach closures at the other side.
Just this last summer, more than 90% of the time, the beach has been closed here due to high bacteria levels.
What happens when they close the beach is they put up a red flag. and people drive by the red flag and they take their kids and they all go in the water. They can't plan their beach days around the pollution. There's some people that come down and are taking the risks that don't even know they're taking them. What we're starting to see is people actually getting sick in a way that makes it clear that the water's a source. I myself have gotten a lot of ear infections from it. A good friend of mine actually got sepsis and was seriously ill, and we know that he got that through a urinary tract infection out here. So, you know, people are actually getting sick. In addition to that, this bay gets a unique kind of seaweed that we don't see in any of the other areas. I just personally suspect that it's also from the feeding of this outfall pipe. So we see a lot of the same pollution here. It's not quite as bad as at the other end of the bay, but the other end of the bay is even more populated. It's even more of a precious area where people can take their kids down to go to the beach and go play in the beach and go swimming. And people are doing it less and less because it's just getting stinkier and more polluted, and signs that say don't go in the water anymore.
We also have the General Electric plant where they make airplane parts, which obviously is an industry that pollutes a lot. Then we have the wind waste Saugus incinerator, which is the oldest incinerator in the country.
I live about a half-mile downwind of the Willebrator trash incinerator and their unlined toxic ash landfill. We have malfunctions, we see steam, we see smoke, they've had fires. It's horrifying.
The other week, for 30 minutes, there was a loud noise that sounded like an explosion. People's homes were shaking. They literally thought that the plant was going to explode. People were terrified.
People in a 5-mile radius were calling Saugus police. It overloaded their emergency system. All police and fire were sent over there because they weren't sure what was going on. It was terrifying. I honestly thought about whether I was going to be in a blast zone, that thing was going to explode.
It was built in 1975 and it doesn't meet modern pollution standards. For example, for nitrogen oxides, the state standard is 150 ppm. Wind waste is emitting at 185 ppm.
So they buy emission reduction credits to show that they're compliant on paper. But our air is dirtier that we breathe because of that. We see much higher rates of cancer in this neighborhood, autoimmune issues, respiratory issues. The human toll that I see personally is that my husband has had 3 different types of cancer. He was diagnosed with kidney cancer at the age of 42, which the average age that someone is diagnosed with that cancer is in their 60s. He's had melanoma. Just recently, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. In addition to that, I've seen lung cancers. I have a neighbor and a friend that just passed away at 54 years of age of pancreatic cancer. The respiratory issues, lots of asthma in our kids in the neighborhood. I personally have autoimmune issues that started in my 30s. And I've seen a lot of neighbors with thyroid autoimmune issues.
They take the ash and dump it in an unlined landfill in the Rumney Marsh, which is located right between Lynn, Revere, and Saugus. This landfill dates back to the 1940s. It was a municipal landfill originally. And when they built the incinerator in 1975, they just started dumping ash on top of the trash. So it doesn't have a modern lining system.
The ash landfill itself, although the company tells us there's no fugitive ash coming from it, we have to say otherwise. We see it on a daily basis, particularly since the prevailing winds are from the west. We are downwind from them. We see layers of a fine grit on our windows. I have a pool out back where the water line has to be cleaned all the time because there's just this dark substance that builds up along the water line. We also have an air quality monitor that's indicating that, yes, in fact, we are getting fugitive ash. It was supposed to close in 1996, and they've been getting extensions to that since that time. It was considered dangerous to health and the environment, and yet we're here all these years later. If that landfill breaches, with the sea level rise, there's no reason to suspect it won't at some point. Mercury, lead, dioxin, those will be in our environment forever. It's terrifying, and we shouldn't have to live like this any longer.
If a single plant shuts down, an incinerator or a landfill, it will back up the entire system, which means it has to go on rail cars and get sent out of state. That's a lot of money. And it's also a drag on the environment to have to transport that stuff hundreds, if not thousands of miles away to someone who can take it.
Some of the alternatives we would like to see happen so that trash does not have to go to that incinerator to be burned would be more recycling, more reuse of items, much more composting.
The amount of organics in landfills is like between 25 and 30%. Here at the town level, we've been really pushing composting. Our goal is to reduce trash by 30% from the year 2018 to the year 2030. And then from 2030 to 2050, to reduce it by 90%. We have to make better choices in what we buy. We have to put demands back upon the people who make packaging, and that's hard.
Lynn, as an environmental justice community, has been neglected.
We love Lynn and we want to stay in Lynn and make it our home and be here long term.
I think Lynn is a beautiful place, and I would love to preserve it and continue to raise awareness.
We spend a lot of time actually just cleaning the beach, just as like a day-to-day thing we can do. We have a group called Lynn Environmental Volunteers that we started with the goal to raise awareness.
We've seen such a rally with thousands of people really putting their foot down and saying enough is enough.
If we can come together and work together on this issue, that's key.
The hard work, though, is done at the committee level, where you're trying to affect policy, and policy's hard.
And with regard to surfing, I'd like to see surfers also get involved with these efforts.
It's a right to have clean water, a clean beach.
If this beach could be clean, I think it would be a jewel of the Commonwealth.